Hey Guardians, in today's episode we have part 2 of our Guardian Downcast Roundtable UK edition, and we will hear from our remaining 3 special guests of the roundtable, and they will each present their topic to the table and we'll go around with our input as well. If you haven't checked out our part 1 of our UK Roundtable episode, then I recommend you go back and listen to that episode first. You can find the audio version at guardiandowncast.com, or if you're a Patreon or YouTube member, check out the video versions. I'll have the links down below in the description. So now, part 2 of the Guardian Downcast UK Roundtable Edition. You ever wonder what makes a great gamer? Great gaming is not only about cheering on our teammates, but also being there to pick us up when we're down.
Guardian down!
We're a Destiny 2 podcast that focuses on 3 things: community, news around the gaming industry and Destiny 2, and thought-provoking topics in the game. We are Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. What's up, Guardian, and welcome to episode 247, part 2 of Guardian Downcast, a Destiny podcast. I'm your host, Todd the Gator, and I'm a Day 1 Guardian who loves gaming and the Destiny franchise, and we talk about it. Welcome to the 3rd Guardian Downcast Roundtable UK edition. So just a reminder of how things work in the Roundtable. I have invited 5 guests of the show from our Guardian Downcast community, in which each has brought to the table their own story or topic of discussion related to Destiny, gaming, or other areas of this hobby we share. And after each member of the roundtable has presented their topic and story, we all go around and share our thoughts and discuss it further. Today, we're going to hear from our 3 remaining guests and their topics. That would be Hades, Rolfey, and finally Heyoka, and you're not going to want to miss his topic. I'll have some special announcements at the end of the show as well. So if you guys are ready, let's roll. Hey, thanks for listening to Guardian Downcast. There are several ways you can contact us. First, you can find us on X at Guardian_D_cast. Or you can find us on our Instagram channel at Guardian Downcast and see what pics and reels that I and our podcast guests want to share with you guys. You can send us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Guardian Downcast. You can send us an email at guardiandowncast@gmail.com. But if you just want to do it all in one spot, check out our new website. Just visit guardiandowncast.com. You can find all our contact info, leave us a voicemail, give us our show rating and review, search for any past episodes, or even get back to our community. Also, don't forget to sign up for future updates to the show, where we'll also have random drawings throughout the year, and you may win a gift card or even some Guardian Downcast merch. Our community thrives on interaction, so get involved and check us out. And later, Guardian. All right, our 3rd topic of the night, and that is from Hades. Hades, what do you got for us tonight, man?
I got a very, very controversial one that has been complained about for ever-ish. I want to talk about the sunsetting side of it and recycle content, because every week there's at least 4 YouTube videos from the big content creators out there saying that, ooh, it's just been recycled, it's just this, it's just that, and all of that. It's not a small game. There's only so much they can do. I googled it because I don't have memory. And the 6th of September 2017, which is 6.5-ish years ago, was when Destiny 2 was released. Mm-hmm. Not number 1. That was even further long ago. I was still in school back then. And just Destiny 2, we got 7 years almost of content. How much can you create for the same universe in 7 years? You kind of do so many guns before you've got to reskin them. Trying to do so much content in one universe with one storyline before you've got to run through the same thing again. And they have to make it make sense. you got this season, people complained, you running through part of a raid. Yes. You're in the place where Riven spent 100 odd years. She only had that raid to get around. How can you create a whole new bit of content and say, yeah, by the way, we found this tunnel here, guys. We're going to make it make sense. It's ridiculous. Sunsetting on it, I think, is a brilliant idea to an extent. I want to run the Red War again. Don't get me wrong on that. That was the most incredible bit of content that I played. Yes, I jumped in late, so I already had all the extras from Forsaken and all of that in there. So I had it as it actually was rather than broken. I'd love to run Forsaken again because it was a really good story. I think they probably couldn't, being that it was Activision's fault. I'm blaming them entirely. If they could have kept the content and just had it as a separate mission, like we've got other missions and things, you got the season of the whatever it was on Titan. We didn't get Titan back, but we still ran through Titan. Mm-hmm. If they could have kept the story there and just cut out some of the exploring side of it, that would have been brilliant. But I completely understand the need to get rid of, because I don't know if you saw someone made what the director would have looked like if they had never got rid of anything between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. And there was too much. They couldn't have kept it going. If you keep the areas, they've got to then update them. They've got to change bits and bobs. Otherwise, it's going to just be stale. And I mean, it already is. When was the last time you went to the moon that wasn't for some quest or other? Mm-hmm. Because I know the first time I've stepped on it this season was to pick up the Whisper of the Worm quest. And that was about 16 steps and I was done.
Me too.
It's getting rid of the stuff you don't want to make space for the stuff that we're going to use. But they need to keep rolling stuff. They need to keep making it get you that little bit of throwback without it being ridiculous. And basically just keep it going for 7 bloody years worth of content. I think I've rambled enough about the same 2 lines here because I didn't write that many notes.
No, it's a good topic. No, it's a good topic. Average, I'll go to you first. I'm going to try to give everyone a first shot at everything here. What's your opinion, Average, on recycling content and sunsetting content?
Right, to start off with, I would also love to run the Red Raw campaign again.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of people in the Destiny 2 universe right now that would love to run the Red War campaign again. Personally, I think they should have kept that in the game, and they should have really probably maybe even used that as the so-called New Light experience.
Yep.
Because at least you could then use that to learn the mechanics, and you could also use that to teach the new players about, where Destiny 2 started. So I think sunsetting is needed because, like you say, if not, game files are going to get ridiculously big, and at the end of the day, all your memory is going to be taken up with Destiny 2. I think the main gripe is that people were kind of like, well, I paid for that content, so why can't I play it now? And I kind of get their point because I'm kind of in that boat. I understand what obviously Hades was saying about, the picture of the director about how it would look if all the planets and everything and all the campaigns were still in Destiny 2. But I think you could probably easily sort of shorten that down, perhaps maybe, make an icon for Destiny 2 Year 1. You click in that Destiny 2 Year 1 and then it takes you into another director and you can play, Red War campaign. Then you can obviously move on to Curse of Osiris. That was next, wasn't it? And then Warmind. So I think you could separate them into perhaps maybe not making the screen so messy. But I mean, yeah, I understand why sunsetting is needed. You do kind of need to go away with the old to bring in the new. But I just think that they possibly could have They possibly could have narrowed some of it down. Like Hades said, if you'd actually taken out a lot of the missions from the Red War campaign, because let's be honest with you, quite a few of them were pretty points. They were literally just exploring, go from A to B and find this and then move on. I think you could have easily shortened down a lot of these campaigns and still left them in the game, and people could have experienced them even if they couldn't experience the whole thing. So I think I agree with some of the points that you've made, but I also think that, I don't know, they could have just done a little bit more to keep some of these bits in the game. Sunsetting is needed, I understand that, but I just think that perhaps maybe they could have just gone about it a different way. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it, really.
Mr. Monkey, what do you think?
I have really, really strong opinions on this, actually. I completely agree with Hades. And it's not very often I say that. I personally think that what has gone, and just if you were there for it, you were there for it. If you weren't, it's gone. Move on. I think the fundamental problem with Destiny, and it touches on what I've talked about earlier, is there's too much bloat in the game, and the more kind of older content that sits within the game, the worse it becomes. We've all got very, very full vaults of weapons that we've never ever fired, but we've stuck them in the vault because we think, that might be useful one day. And it never is useful. So I completely agree with Hades that it's completely necessary to wipe the slate clean every now and again. Sunsetting is really important. I'm really sad that the Leviathan raid's gone. I'm really sad the raid layers have gone. I thought the Red War campaign was okay. I think, like I've said, that we've probably looked at it with slightly rose-tinted spectacles, that some of the missions were good, some of them were average. The Forsaken campaign was an absolute masterpiece, and the whole landing of Forsaken was an absolute masterpiece, but it's gone, and we need to look forward, not backwards.
I understand that. Heyoka, you have an opinion on this?
So I was a solo player through so much of this stuff, and I was a type of solo player who didn't even talk with anyone about Destiny. I might have said this before, but until you actually talk about it and put it into words and have conversations about it, you might not understand what was going on. So my understanding of what, like the Red War was, I was just going in and shooting aliens. It was the next thing to do. And there's huge places where I think, well, what was that? Where was that? How do I get back to that? And if you're not part of a community engaging with that in conversations, you don't actually realize things are sunset. You don't even know where they were. They have to be. We can't keep hold of everything. And yeah, I never got to do Leviathan with a group. That's not to say I didn't try and do it on my own without understanding that it was a raid and I couldn't do it on my own. Banged my head against the wall a few times. Spent a couple of days trying to do something. So that's fine. I've missed out on that. If I ever get a chance to do it again, whatever, I don't know. But yeah, I'm not going to be saying I need that back now because I've missed out on something. That's gone. That wasn't it. So I'm all for, things need to be moved on. Things need to progress. And new people coming in don't even know they've missed it.
Yeah.
That's where it is.
Okay. Rolfie, something to add?
I'm sat on the fence with this one, to be honest, because I think sunsetting affects veteran players only. In the respect of, there are so many weapons that I wish we still had in the game that would completely break the game, that I miss so much. And completely agree, Red War was some of the best times that I had in Destiny. And a lot of the content, like Leviathan, I didn't run enough of to be able to enjoy it a lot, because at that stage of the game, I was probably one of 3 people that I ran with regularly. Didn't have enough to fill a fire team of 6 people, so I didn't get to enjoy it enough. So looking, like, if we had the same community that we do now, and Leviathan was still in the game, I'm sure I'd have a really good time and enjoy running it. But if we look back at some of the weapons like Icebreaker, that is something that I'm still salty about, because that is one of my favourite weapons within the game. And they keep hinting that they might bring it back, but I don't understand how they could bring it back now and it not break the game. Mm-hmm. They would have to make some significant advancements to that weapon, almost to the point where it's not the same Icebreaker for it to be relevant within the game now. So, yeah, I think sunsetting is necessary, because we want to introduce new players to the game, and if they had access to the full content vault that is vaulted, then yes, it's massively overwhelming and people wouldn't know what to chase. But as a nostalgic player, there is a lot of things I miss from this game. So I feel like there is ways in which Bungie can recycle and reuse content in a positive way to appeal to the veteran players, but then adapt that to the new light experience as well. And how they do that, I'm not fully sure. Because if you were to do a like-for-like Icebreaker, I would not use anything else. Raid bosses would melt. And regardless of what raid it is, it doesn't matter. I'd be using the Icebreaker. If you look at something like King's Fall now with an Icebreaker, Oryx would fall over. So, yes, I fully agree. Sunsetting is needed. But as a veteran player, it still makes me salty, because there are things that are no longer available to me in the game that I would really like in the game, but I don't have access to. So that's the way in which I sit at the moment. It's really hard, because we are 10 years down the line of this original Destiny game. Mm-hmm. There are stuff that you can't bring back, but I was there when it was originally in the game, enjoying the times, slapping up raids with an Icebreaker, but you could not bring that back right now. So I completely understand why Bungie have done it. So that's where I sit at the moment.
Yeah, you're probably not going to like my opinion of this, because I agree. You bring up the Icebreaker. That was a Destiny 1 weapon. I'm sorry, Elmer Fudd, a Destiny weapon. And yes, I agree. It was one of my favorite. I used it in Vault all the time. We'd sit in the back of the Vault and take out the Templar. Just sit back and just keep regenerating ammo. There was no risk. And yeah, I could see how that could break the game, but if they brought it into Destiny 2, I think I agree with you, Rolfie. It would not be the same weapon, because they would have to tame it down. I mean, we're finding that out about the Recluse. The latest reviews from the Recluse being available in the Into the Light, it's not the Recluse of old. And I told people that. I said, there's no way the Mountaintop and the Recluse are going to be as good. And I don't even think the Luna's Howl is going to be as good either. I think it'll be there right amongst the other weapons. It's an option you can use that is full power. But Icebreaker's a stretch, because it's a weapon that I've wanted in this game as well from Destiny 1, and I was salty when I had to abandon it going into Destiny 2 in 2017. I think they could easily fix this problem. Well, easily, coming from an armchair developer. The Legends tab. That's where you put it. Put it in the Legends tab. Where do we go to the Legends tab right now? If you go to Legends tab right now in game, you can play the King's Fall raid. You can play all of these past raids that maybe rotate in and out. But that's the perfect place to play it. That's the perfect place to put the Red War campaign. You could put Red War campaign down at the bottom in a little icon for those that want to go back and replay it. I played that campaign so many times. You know how many new characters I made on that one? I replayed that story so many times, and I had fun every time I did it, because it started you from scratch. You had to build your weapons up from the start, which I think is the reason why a lot of people want Destiny 3 now. But I think the Legends tab could fix a lot of that, or even have another tab on the map where it could just say Destiny Nostalgia or something. And that way Legacy. Yeah, like Legacy. And like right now, I'll give you for instance, I need to get the rest of the catalyst for revision 0, but I can't get it this week. You know why? because Presage is the rotating mission this week, and it's not the space station one where I have to go back and complete it so many times to get the catalyst to open up the different perk in the gun. And I'm okay with that, but just make it available all the time, where whenever I have time to sit down and play it, I can just go to the Legends tab and pop up that old exotic mission and just get it done. But I agree. If you put Destiny 2 Red War campaign as part of the new player, go back to the new player campaign, make them play that first story where the Gaul kicks them off the ship. Now they know where to start. They're starting from zero like we did back in Destiny 2 when it started. Not this, here's some preset. We're going to give you half the stuff. Oh, by the way, now you're full light. Now you can go play Trials. As long as you bought Lightfall, you can go play Trials. But all they would have to do is have a separate tab on the map to put the Red War campaign, to put Curse of Osiris, and then you got Warmind, and you got all your different campaigns all right there. And yes, you can't do the seasonal stuff on it, but you can go back and replay those missions and just relive those missions and have fun. Or guess what? For the new player who doesn't know what the F is going on in Destiny 2, they can go back and play the missions. And you can play the campaign just like we did when we started Destiny 2. And all they would have to do, not to confuse everybody, is just put it on a nostalgia circular icon on the map. And that way the director wouldn't be so crazy. So
you've already got a timeline as well.
Yeah, you've got a timeline, but you can't play the timeline.
You've got a timeline with three completely unrelated missions in it.
Yeah.
So if they flipped it to make it a little bit less complicated, so that until you'd done these campaigns, they were your main screen. Yeah. And then you've got, at the top of it, you've got normal director.
Right.
So if you want to go and do something else, you can click on that, play with people who've been playing for years. Otherwise, you've got a step-by-step, this was Red War.
Yes.
This was Curse of Osiris. This was Warmind. That would explain it so much better. And let's be honest, at least two of us here have done the wonderfully useless New Light campaign. And I can't think of anyone that watches that and goes, oh no, Sure Hand's Ghost, because at that point you don't know what the bloody hell a ghost is, other than that weird floaty thing that talks.
Who's Shaw Han? Who the hell is Shaw Han?
Being completely booted off of a spaceship that has that oh shit moment that hooked me. I started, I think, like part of the way into Shadowkeep. So I missed Forsaken. I missed all of the...
Oh, man, you missed Forsaken?
All of that.
Poor guy, man.
I played it.
Oh.
I played them all, but like I started part of the way through Shadowkeep, so I started after the...
Oh, you went back before they'd knocked out of the game. Gotcha.
Yeah, no, I played all of them, all of the everything.
Yeah.
But I played it in order, and maybe. I don't think so, actually. And Warmind, I loved that campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I spent so much time on Mars doing escalation protocol to the point that I've got the emblem for doing far too much of that.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
And I only played the game for 6 months.
Here's the thing. You could still have the Warmind campaign, but the public event that was going on during that season, that wouldn't be there because the season's coming on. That would be the FOMO part of it, right? But you
jump in, you've got missions there already.
Yeah.
You've already got half a mission on Mars.
Yeah.
You don't have that much of the planet.
No.
They could keep that. They could because people played Season of whatever it was, Season of the Seraph. There were people who played that were going, who the bloody hell's this guy? Who's this Rasputin guy? He's a guy from a song something to do with Russia. Why am I meant to care about the fact that he's just been unplugged?
Here, just search Rasputin on one of the lore websites and just get lost. Yeah. Why not just play the campaign again and know who he is?
I know who he is because of that. I killed a worm god. That was great fun.
Well, see, Rolfey, I see you want to say something. I have to get this out before my ADHD brain kicks it out of my short-term memory. When they had that timeline, they first put that timeline in the director, I was like, finally, here we go. Red War, just click it and it'll start the campaign. Nope. you press the red war and it's like, just nothing happens. I'm like, wait a minute. This is a perfect opportunity for Bungie to bring the new player in and say, here's the timeline of Destiny 2. And now Destiny 1, I've already told people, if you want to know who Cade is, you got to go back and play Destiny 1. But if you want to learn the story of Destiny 2, you go to the timeline icon in the map and it will show you all the different seasons. It drops down and shows the seasons, which is great. You can't play that part because those seasons are seasons. They're gone. You can't go back and relive last fall. That was the season. It's gone. It's time's past. But why not have the basic missions and cutscenes put into a chronological order where people can actually, because the one thing I saw with these, going back to average, about the new player videos that I watched, they started talking about Mara, and the guy goes, who the hell is Mara? I don't know. It's literally like someone at a party had a conversation for an hour and you walk up to them an hour and 2 minutes later and trying to peer in and listen to what they're saying and not understanding any of the context of the conversation. That's what I feel like the new player goes through when they try to play this game as far as the story. Now, as far as the green bricks and the heavy bricks and stuff, all that stuff, I think they dropped the ball. I think it's too late for that stuff. I think they're going to have to lean on their YouTube community to explain that to people. And, we've benefited from it. We get views, we get advertising dollars and stuff for people to watch our videos. So there's an exchange. And plus Bungie says, listen, as long as 20% of your content includes you and not just us, our stuff, then we're not going to copyright strike you, which is kind of an untold agreement between the content creators and Bungie, which is a great thing, by the way. I love that Bungie gives a lot of leeway for content creators to be able to help or inform or teach in the game that they're trying to promote more players to play. But it's very simple to fix as far as sunsetting, getting rid of Red War. Dude, you know how much time I spent on Titan? I love that planet. I spent so many hours on Titan, and I'm pissed that I cannot go back to Titan now and just go around and just collect materials or whatever. But if I could go back and run those missions again, I wouldn't get anything for them. I mean, maybe it's a little bit of XP or something for my time, but you're just going back just to go through the cutscenes and replay Destiny 2. Because last time I remember, I already paid for Destiny 2. I paid for Destiny 2 when it first came out. Why are you cutting that content out where I can't access it anymore? If I bought Assassin's Creed whatever, number 1000, if I bought that game, I paid for that content. I should be able to play that content whenever I want. But you can't do that in Destiny 2 now, and that's what irritates me. So it annoys
me that you can't in Assassin's Creed either.
Beg your pardon?
Tried that with Assassin's Creed.
Well, they become more live service now.
It's a lot of games that there's loads of games don't have replayable going back missions. So you said Assassin's Creed reminded me. There's one of them that I finished 3/4 of. All I can do is take 4 steps and touch the apple of Eden. That's all I can do. And then it shows me the credits. It's ridiculous. Right. But people saying I paid for that content. Okay. I've bought Call of Duty 2. I can't play that anymore. I haven't got the console for that anymore. You can't find the console for that anymore. Yeah. There's loads of stuff that, yeah, sure, you paid for it 7 years ago. Name one other game that you played that you care and you want to go back and play the campaign for from 7 years ago. Get over that.
God of War. I'd love to go back and start playing my God of War I didn't finish.
You'd love to, but you haven't. You haven't even finished that.
And that's on me, though. That's me as a player because I'm stuck on one certain game. But I did buy that God of War. I should be able to it should be in my library, and it is on my PlayStation. I should be able to go back and play that whenever I'm in the mood to play it because I already bought the content.
That was 7 years ago. That was 2 consoles ago. Have you still got your PS3?
Oh, I can get all the God of Wars on PlayStation 5. It's part of my PlayStation library.
You've got to rebuy that.
Well,
either you've got to rebuy that or you're paying PlayStation for that already.
I am paying for PlayStation Plus, but yes, there is content that I bought, like the latest God of War I bought. I haven't played it yet. I can go back and play it whenever I want because it's not live service. But I'm just saying at the very least, the campaign mission and the cutscenes between them should be playable all the time in Destiny 2, because guess what? I paid for Destiny 2. I paid for that expansion. It should be available to me. Instead of cutting Red War and saying, well, we don't want the file size too big, let that be up to the player. Maybe there'll be an option. Do you want to do you also want to download this pack or this patch or pack or whatever? It could be a checkbox saying past missions of Destiny 2. You can click it if you think you have the room to download it onto your console or your PC or whatever. That's all I'm saying.
Or, working in tech, make it cloud.
You could do that too, yes. Make it cloud-based. Yeah. Cloud-based has got a lot better too.
You can play...
Stream it from Bungie.
I sell TVs that you can play cloud-based gaming on.
Yeah.
You've got the whole... It's probably a bit of a no-no word in a lot of people here. It could be entertaining reactions. Is Chromebooks. There are gaming Chromebooks. They don't have the storage for anything.
No.
It's all cloud-based. As long as your Wi-Fi is better than mine, it's there. You could have the whole of the Red War. Admittedly, we're saying the Red War, the campaign that you could play at once per character. But if they could make that cloud-based and say, by the way, it's not going to be as perfect as if you were trying to play Witch Queen because it's not on your device, but you can play it, that fixes this file storage.
I'll go a step further. Why not put Destiny 1 on cloud service? You can play it on your PC. It may be 30 frames, but maybe they can upscale it for better hardware. But right now, you have to have a PS3 or a PS4 to play. Well, actually, I got it on my PS5 too, because I was able to download it.
I bought a PS3 for it. My PS3 doesn't work. I was very upset.
I mean,
it won't update. I feel that's Sony's fault.
Dude, I would love to go back and play all of Destiny 1 again. Will I do it? I don't know, because my time is limited. I have a job and family and kids, but it's nice to know if I decide to get a burr up my ass one night and go play Destiny 1, I can go do it. And you just can't do that with Red War. You can't do that with all the first year of. I'd love to go visit Spider again and Forsaken. Anyway, I'm beating a dead horse, but that's where I think they could actually do it and not have to sunset those missions. And I'm still irritated that they took them out because of file size. Give me a break. Have anybody downloaded the latest Call of Duty game? You know how big that game is? It's twice the size of Bungie's Destiny 2 right now. It's enormous. I don't see anybody complaining about it.
Sorry, Fudd. We've said Destiny 1 like 12 times.
Sorry, Fudd. My bad.
I'm very sorry.
My bad, dude. Hey, great topic though. Hades, thanks for that, man. Anybody else? I know I've kind of dominated this conversation. Anybody else have I think, Rolfey, you had something you wanted to say about all the sunsetting and recycling?
Yeah, I was just thinking about trying to put a positive spin on it, and it mainly focuses back to weapons. So, how long did we lose Gjallarhorn for? It was a few years.
Gjallarhorn sells copies. That's why they keep bringing it back. Gjallarhorn sells copies.
Yeah. But now it's pretty rare that I'd run a raid where rockets are necessary when one person is going to be running Gjallarhorn. So that's a benefit of reprise content.
That's true.
So this is the other side of things. Like, if they're going to bring it back and they're going to put a positive spin on it, then yeah, I'm up for that. But
yeah,
it's got to fit within the current game. Yeah, Gjallarhorn was a massively nostalgic weapon for a lot of us, but it's still usable. It's relevant, and it brought a lot of people back to the game. So that's the other side of things, which is why I'm so on the fence about sunsetting.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I can't remember the last time I brought out my Gjallarhorn, even though I got it back from that dungeon. I can't remember the last time I brought out Gjallarhorn, because I have so many other launchers that are legendary that don't take up an exotic slot. So anyway, great story, Hades. Great story. Thank you for that. We have 2 stories left. I'm going to stretch my legs and we'll be right back. Hey, just a quick reminder that we have several Destiny 2 clans and we invite all of you to be a part of it. If you're looking for a home to share your Destiny experiences, now would be a great time to jump in and get to know some of these great gamers. We're here for the community and friends you make along the way, and no hardcore restrictions. And enjoy what time you have for Destiny is all we ask. So if you're looking for a clan out there, join our Discord. That's discord.gg/GuardianDownCast, and just reach out to a mod and we'll open the door for you. So join us in Later Guardian. We're down to our fourth topic of the roundtable tonight, and it is from our newest member, and that would be Rolfey. What do you got for us tonight, Rolfey?
So my topic isn't necessarily Destiny specific, but inevitably we're going to end up talking about Destiny. And it's how important is the lore of a game, the modern game society? Is this something that you would look for specifically when purchasing a game, or is this something that just exists in the background whilst you enjoy the gameplay? So, personally, I've grown up as a gamer, and a lot of the games that I was brought up around had really solid storylines. So, I'm talking Final Fantasy, I'm talking Metal Gear Solid, Zelda, and that even translated into early multiplayer games like Halo. I'm going to include Destiny in that, Diablo, Dark Souls. So naturally now, this is something that I would actively look for within a game for me to be immersed into it. Nowadays, it feels like development studios are more interested in cornering a market into a specific type of gameplay over any background lore. So I don't want to mention any franchises other than Fortnite. But this game is marketed purely to get numbers involved. It's marketed it's a simple game. It's approachable. It's literally a platform for you to go and shoot your friends in the face. And they don't try and do anything outside of that to make it interesting for people that might be consumed by the lore of a game. So, personally, that isn't something that captivates me at all. That's just a game I would happily put a couple of hours into, enjoy the gameplay, but think nothing else of it. So my question to the group and the topic is, how important is lore to you as gamers? If we use D2 as an example, what is it about the game that excites you? Are you playing it purely to shoot aliens in the face, to use the weapons that Bungie have developed? Or are there elements of the lore and the narrative that absorb you into this game that make it all part of the experience? Personally, I find the Grimoire, and I'm reading the Grimoire at the moment, so I find it absolutely fascinating that there is this whole world behind what we're presented with on a day-to-day basis that exists and developers have thought about and creative directors have had an input in, and it's much more than just a game. So the historical events, the timelines, they all weave into each other. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for in a game. And a game genre, I suppose, is that limited to fantasy games? Is it purely around folklore, or are these the types of games that are going to have good lore behind them, or is this something that you don't look for in a game? Do you just want to go there purely for a bit of escapism, which I know a lot of us use the game for? Do you want to go there? Do you want to shoot aliens? Turn your console off and think, yeah, that's great. So that's my topic. I'm interested to know what other people think about that. And like I say, I am heavily involved in as much of the background lore in Destiny as much as I love playing the game day to day. I'll happily run raids, dungeons, whatever, but running that dungeon sparks more questions for me as to, oh, okay, why am I here? What am I doing? Where's this come from? And that's what I find myself personally immersed in. Is that the same reason you're playing Destiny, or are you playing it purely for the simplicity of shooting each other in the face? So yeah, that's my topic.
Let's start with Heyoka on this one. I'm trying to mix it up where everybody gets to talk earlier.
I've definitely been a turn up and shoot things in the face kind of player, and I'm beginning to see how much more I would have got out of that had I wanted to paid attention. So I've got the first 3 Grimoire. I'm halfway through the first one. You know, they are accessible, but it's only now that I'm really beginning to to ask those questions. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? So I've got a whole body of lore to read and understand. And I regret actually not paying more attention to that. I remember talking to Monkey one day and he was like, remember when we killed Riven here and there? And I'm like, who's Riven? What have they done? Because you don't have to. But I really am beginning to see how much more I would have got from the game and invested in it in a different way. But again, I go back to that 9 years as a solo player. Who am I talking to about it? It's those conversations that we're having now that, I missed out on those conversations. Being in fire teams, doing dungeons, doing raids, doing content. It's a lonely experience as a solo player. It doesn't mean that I couldn't have paid attention. But actually, being a father, you might have an hour and a half, you log in, you shoot things in the face, that's what it is. I've got the opportunity to go back and read it now. I've also got people like yourselves. Hades is always telling me the lore behind things. I'd like to think that I would read up and finish all those grimoires. I kind of miss the old grimoire cards that you used to get in Destiny. That was more in your face, where they created those books where you would tick things off and you say, oh, what is that? That's not really provided for in a different way. Because otherwise those lore entries can just become an irritating thing you've got to tick off. Find the right book, find the right thing, get rid of that mark that says you've got to pay attention to this. But I'd like to think that I will go back and read the lore and get more enjoyment from it. I'm not wholly convinced that I will. But I really would like to. Because when I do, it adds so much more to it.
Yeah, just to expand on that, I've sort of developed as a player. So originally I was playing the game purely to go out there and gun people down. And then actually it clicked that there's another world behind what I'm doing. And that triggered something in me where I wanted to find out more. And it's not just Destiny. Let's take Final Fantasy. I played Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation 1, and I put 90 hours into that game. And then that 90 hours was just the beginning of another 90 hours of reading what on earth's going on behind it. I was enjoying the gameplay, but actually the fun I got out of it was from reading the stories behind the characters and working out who's doing what, who's involved in what timelines. And I can purely see it, Heyoka, like from a solo player, you would just go in there, gun stuff down and move on to the next thing. But that's how I started. And then I developed into a lore nerd. And now that's as much of the biggest part of the game that I am interested in, as well as gunning people down on a daily basis. So yeah, it's interesting. So
you're saying you like my lore segments that I'm reading? Don't worry, I'll say yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you for. I'll Venmo you later. Hades, what's your take, bud?
Oh God, definitely. I think coming in as a younger player, Destiny is actually the first game that I cared about anything other than just the basics of. I'll play other games and not care in the slightest. Stuff like Need for Speed, I don't know if there's a way that they can put anything other than just the basic story in. May get a lot of hate for this. I have played both of the Star Wars, whatever they're called, games. And
Battlefront?
Not massive. No, what was the new one? The one that you played during Season of Lost. Or didn't play. Should have played but didn't play.
I played a little bit.
Played some of. But I played both of them. Yeah. And they're really good games. I love the Star Wars universe. I can probably name about 3 things that happened in that game now. Mm-hmm. Destiny, I spent years pointing myself that way, shooting that thing, it blew up. I then looked into the lore. I found a bit that I found interesting. Man with the golden gun. I can remember exactly what it was. I looked into it. I found some podcast or other that went through, kind of found the bits of lore on it and put it all together into a podcast. That hooked me. The backstory of Destiny is ridiculous. You've got the little things like the fact that Shaxx backhanded Felwinter's head off. How is this not more relevant? That's brilliant. I ran up the mountain talking to Doc, going like, the story behind this, but the little bones that you find, that was Shaxx. It was a tale that Saladin told Crow about Shaxx. There are so many things that are massively included in the game if you know where to look. And it makes it so much more enjoyable, because I now go to Shaxx and I don't just see some bloke with half a horn. I see a bloke with half a horn who potentially had a thing with Mara, but we're not entirely sure about that. We don't actually know what Shaxx is, who is that much of a badass that he still holds the name of Warlord for the best reasons, could completely beat up the most badass Iron Lord just by going, nah, that'll do. And he also saved the city. He went out. He is now no longer friends with Saladin because he didn't listen to him, but it saved the city. He's done so much. He lost a bet with Cade. Now he plays dodgeball with children in the city. There are so many random bits of lore. I've got a very confused Doc to my right here. It's brilliant. That it's just that they're there if you know where to look, and it makes the game a lot more enjoyable. It's stuff that if it was in games that I've played throughout my childhood, probably would be massively more into gaming than I already am, which would be a little bit sad, let's be honest. It does make it loads better. It makes it that these stories that like potentially maybe are going to be coming out of a TV show for Destiny, I like to think they're never happening. It's been like a year. I think it does loads better, but I don't know how much is going to be going into more. And I'd look for it. If I could go and click on a game in Steam and it'd say, by the way, you've got 3 years worth of story that you could totally just binge watch on Netflix, I'd go, yeah, right. I'll click that one. I'll play that for an hour and then go binge watch Netflix and then come back and just be like, I know that guy. Mm-hmm. It adds more emotion to the game. It means that I'm not just watching Holiday die going, cool. It wasn't Mara. I don't mind too much. It means I'm watching Holiday die going, oh no, that was our last close link to Cade. That's someone who has been mortal but done this. It makes you care about people. It's the stuff that Star Wars has spent 9 films building, that Star Trek has spent 15 different TV shows and 47 films and 16,000 copies of books building. It's just the old school bit brought into video games. That I love it. Again, chatting, gibberishing.
No, these are all good points.
Whiskey.
No, I like that. I like how you stated that. Average, I'm gonna go to you next. What's your take on this?
Sorry, Heyoka, did you want to say something just before I said something? Because you look like you might want to say something before I go ahead.
Thanks, man. I just wanted to thank Hayes for that, because it's a bit like saying you listen to music but you don't care about the lyrics. You just consume the melody. So I really appreciate that insight. Thank you. It's really helpful.
Yeah. Very true.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that.
Nope.
Me personally, I am more of just jump on the game, shoot stuff, and then log out, to be honest with you. I can completely understand the love of everybody when it comes to the lore of Destiny 2. I know it's quite in depth. And it certainly gives you sort of an indication as to people's backstories and why this happened, why that happened, etc., etc. But to be honest with you, as much as I'd love to be into the lore of Destiny 2, I prefer to spend my time playing the game than actually reading up about. Yeah, I listen to the music, not just the lyrics. You're right. Completely spot on. But for me, it's game dependent. Like, the lore of Destiny 2 is great. Don't get me wrong. I've got nothing against the people that love the lore of Destiny 2. Fair play to you. I wish I could be into it as much as you guys are, but I just want to get on and shoot stuff in the face. But when it comes to other games such as Cyberpunk 2077, I love the lore behind that. There's a lot of lore in that game. There's a lot of stuff to read up on. You know, you've got your Cyberpunk Edge Runners series. You've got your Spotify. You've got an audio book on Spotify, which gives you a sort of alternative sort of, you know, dimension to Cyberpunk 2077. So when it comes to that game, I absolutely love the lore in that game. And I read up on that quite a lot. And I'm actually one of those sad people that actually spends their time and reads every single, bit of lore that comes up in that game and on that game and throughout that game. So I can completely understand where the lore excites people, but personally for me, it's very much game dependent, rather than every single game is great if it has lore, but it's not so good if it doesn't, if that makes any sense to anybody. So I can certainly understand where the love of the lore comes through in Destiny 2, because I know it's very in depth, but for me, it's not the lore of a game I'm into the lore of another game. So yeah. That's my 2 cents on it, basically. If that makes any sense to anybody. I think it does.
Actually, it does. Mr. Monkey.
So to steal Heyoka's analogy, I guess I'm a fan of a cappella. I really, really like the lore of Destiny. I think it adds context to the game. I think it tells small stories really, really well. For example, the Drifter is probably my favourite character, not because of the in-game presentation, but because of the lore behind who the Drifter is and kind of why he is the way that he is. If you've not read it, the Ada 1 lore is phenomenally bleak, but really, really good. And to bring it back to the content that you just dropped, if you read the original Luna's Howl lore, and why Luna's Howl became Not Forgotten, that's an absolutely stunning lore book in terms of very small, self-contained stories that provide context to kind of what's going on within the game.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Monkey. My thoughts on this. You have to remember you don't have to remember. I hate when people say that. Well, you have to remember. You got to know that. No. I played Call of Duty, man. I was a shooter guy. The only lore
behind what's the lore behind Call of Duty?
You know what the lore behind Call of Duty is? It's the campaign you play before you jump right into multiplayer, which is what we all did. If you wanted to know the next lore for Call of Duty, it was playing the campaign. That was basically the lore. At least that's all I knew of the lore. I mean, you knew all the characters of the game. It was very limited at that, but even Call of Duty has recycled a lot of the old characters coming back with just nonsensical, meaningless conversations between old characters. You can just tell they have worn out that storyline in Call of Duty with Soap and McTavish and Captain Price, and it's just been so played out. I came into Destiny loving the worlds. When I saw it in 2013 at E3, I was mesmerized by the environments that I was going to be able to run around and shoot stuff with. I loved the, all the teasers that they put out before the game actually came out. And when I jumped in the game, the lore for me was sitting on the Cosmodrome and just taking it all in. I felt like I was meditating on Cosmodrome. I would hear all the crickets and the bugs buzzing by and the wind slowly, flowing and everything. And then once I got past that part, it was all about what do I need to do? What do I need to shoot? And what's my reward for doing it? That's all I want to know. because that's my Call of Duty self coming in and saying, you know, what rank do I need to get to? What prestige am I trying to get to? Those are my checkboxes. That's just how I played shooters. But then these little things called lore books came out that Destiny released. I have all of them. The 6th one I have over here that you don't see because I'm still reading lore from it. Actually, I just finished it. It was on all the ghost stories. Fascinating read. Every lore book kind of has a theme to it and talks about different parts of the game. And then I started listening to lore podcasts, which I think is a great service to the Destiny community because I don't know about you. I mean, I would love to go to, braytech.org or
Ishtar Collective.
Thank you, Ishtar Collective. And if you look at Ishtar Collective, you're swimming in data. You're swimming in stories. You're swimming in entries. And for the average player coming in there like me, it's a lot to take in and very intimidating. If you look at all the lore entries on the left-hand column, you're like, I don't even know where to start here. And I think it was Orchid a long time ago. It might even be Blue or even Green-Eyed Music Lover back when I interviewed them back a long time ago when they had lore podcast out. I mean, Orchid does with Elemist as well right now. They've kind of carried the torch. They just said to jump in anywhere and just start reading. And you'll just start to learn little aspects of the game that you never knew. But I kind of blame Bungie for this. I really do. I blame Bungie because when I played Destiny 1, I collected Grimoire. But you know why I collected Grimoire? Because I wanted that number. I wanted that number on my emblem to show how much Grimoire score I had. Because if people knew I had a big Grimoire score, they knew I was an established player and I knew what I was doing. It was the ultimate flex is to have that Grimoire score in Destiny 1 on your emblem. And I would always track that, your total Grimoire score. I went around and grabbed these cards and stuff that were random. You'd flip them over on the website that you had to go to as outside a game to read these lore cards, and they were all out of context, and you were trying to piece them together. And finally I just said, screw it. I just want the score to go up. I just want number to go up. That's all I care about. That's all I care. And then I came across these lore books, and it just totally opened my eyes to how much I did not know about Destiny 2 and Destiny, because I played the stories. I played all the campaigns multiple times over. And the only thing I knew about Destiny lore was what they presented in the campaign story. I didn't know any of the intricacies of Riven and how the Wish Dragons were hunted and to extinction. I never knew any of that stuff until Blackbird came to me and wanted to talk about that lore entry from the last book of Season of the Wish. And slowly but surely, I've been collecting these books that I've been reading, and I'm slowly gaining a knowledge of all the parts of the game that I never had any clue about. So to answer your question, Rolfie, it was shooties and looties for me, baby. That's all I cared about. I wanted to shoot stuff in the face, and I wanted to know what kind of gun it was going to drop or what kind of armor piece I was going to get from it. But like Heyoka said, as I'm starting to get more into this game and realize all the lore involved, I'm slowly turning on and trying to absorb more lore as I have the time to do it. But it's very time consuming. You have to know what you want to know about. So that's where the braytech.org and ishtarcollective.com, I think, that's where you can go and start to look up a book and start to understand. They'll even have community insight on what it means and stuff. It's really great. But there's a Destiny lore channel in our Discord. If you ever want to just sit there and be a fly on the wall, people talk lore all the time in there. It's one of our most active channels in our Discord, where someone will come in with a question about lore, and then we have our lore, not exactly lore experts, but our lore enthusiasts that come in and start to explain what it means. And it's very fascinating to be a fly on the wall in there. So, I always recommend people go to that Destiny lore channel. But, as I've read all of these lore books that Bungie produced, I think that was a big, service to the community, because I've read them all, and, slowly but surely gained all the knowledge that I have now. The lore podcasts, I think, are key. There's not many of them left out there. I do have a lore podcast that I'll have on in the future before Final Shape. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I will say that, whenever I watch a movie, I do a lot of movie reviews. The one thing I base how good a movie is is character development. And if there's one thing I can say about Destiny lore, it is the ultimate character development. Because you guys are talking about all this Drifter lore. I don't know any of that stuff. So now I got to go investigate this. That
will make you cry.
Rolfey's saying that it's gonna be the total feature of Destiny. Is just the lore around the Drifter. It'll totally save the game.
Definitely gonna make you cry.
Okay.
I'll warn you that one.
I think it's the best written lore. The Ada 1 lore book is also quite
Ada 1
bleak.
I think I remember.
I really like bleak stuff.
I remember reading that.
Like I say, if you read the original lore behind why Luna's Howl is Luna's Howl and how it translates into Not Forgotten, if you've ever had a pet dog,
never knew
that might kind of break you. Because the quest steps for Luna's Howl were the doc will know this better than me, were the 7 stages of grief.
Mm-hmm.
So each quest step that you did for Luna's Howl was all about acceptance, rage, all the other 7 steps. Because basically in the Luna's Howl lore book, a guardian loses their dog to Hive on the moon. And you can actually visit the dog's grave in game.
Really?
It's near where the entrance to the Garden of Salvation is.
Wow.
And Shaxx got Banshee to build him a gun to go and take out the Hive that killed his dog.
What?
So each of the quest steps when you got Luna's Howl was the 7 stages of grief. And then obviously the dog's called... I think the dog might be called Luna, but obviously it was killed on Luna.
I think it was Luna, because that's the mechanical dog we pet, right?
Yeah. So no, that's Archie. So that's why it's called Luna's Howl, because that was the name of the dog. But then it transitions into Not Forgotten. So if you've ever had a pet that's died, then they become Not Forgotten. You don't want to forget your dead dog.
Yeah.
So if you read the kind of lore behind the gun. It's a really clever tie-in.
That is so clever.
To the quest steps that you go through to get the Luna's Howl that then transitions into Not Forgotten.
Wow. I see. The average player doesn't know that. The average player, I'm a veteran player and I don't know that. And the one thing someone brought up, I think it was Hades brought up, Star Wars lore. I think the thing that Star Wars is doing now to bring more lore into their, and bring people more aware of the full backstory of Star Wars is like some of the new content they have coming out on Disney Plus lately. It's a lot of the stuff that they talked about in the background that we just totally went over our head, and they've had all these series come out. Even, Boba Fett, which you can say was I still liked it. I still like backstories. I love hearing backstories of characters and stuff. I thought that was a neat idea. The Mandalorian, and then of that one drama series that was out a couple years ago. I'm still waiting for the 2nd season of that to come out. It was one of my favorite Star Wars series.
Andor.
Yes, Andor. What a story! That opened my eyes. I mean, you know what that series did for me? It made me start researching Star Wars lore. Because I never read the comics. I'm not a comic book guy. I never read the comics. I never watched the comic series, in Star Wars. I just love the movies, and I've watched the movies millions of times. It's the same with Destiny here, though. You play this game, and all you know as an average player is what Bungie is presenting to you in a cutscene. And unfortunately, they don't have unlimited money to give you cutscenes for every piece of lore or even little character development tabs that they can't insert in there that we don't ever know about unless we read lore. So I was a lore noob, but I'm definitely becoming more involved with lore. But it takes a lot of time to research it out. And I'm not a reader. I have to set aside separate time to read something. That's why I got through the lore books, is I would read a couple pages a day. When I start reading something, my mind just starts floating away, and I don't even know what I'm reading on the page anymore. So it takes time and effort and deliberate time to set aside to read lore. And I do love that Destiny has included the lore books finally in the game now. And you can even look at lore on any new weapons or even stuff that you get in the events, the holiday stuff. It's really nice. It's really nice. So to answer your question, I was a shoot 'em and looty guy, but now I'm trying to convert over and learn. But the problem is I have 10 years of lore I got to catch up on. Where do I even start? So I start with the lore books. It piques my interest. I start moving into other things. And just so you guys know, I have a Destiny help desk on lore. I brought in friends of mine who are very well versed in lore. That was Laz and Des Raven. Yeah, Des Raven that I brought in to talk with me on that. And that opened my eyes as far as lore. They gave so much information in that episode. So if you go back in Destiny help desk, I have one on lore. And it was very good. It was very enlightening. So anything else? Any final words on this topic, guys?
A little bit to back up slightly on what has been said before.
Okay.
I know even the stuff that is in the game on lore it's like touching the surface. So I don't know if you remember because it was quite a bit ago. Even something like when you got Malfeasance, that quest that I think I've run about 50 times getting other people that gun because it's that last bleeding boss fight when you do get it, where you've got that cutscene of Callum Soul. I'm looking at Rolfey waiting for him to nod here. Mr. Monkey's agreeing, that's right.
Yeah, it does,
that cutscene with Callum Soul. Fun fact, that wasn't his ghost. Callum Soul's ghost is still floating somewhere off in doing whatever it wants. It was just a random dead ghost they found. But that you've got to dig into the lore to find. And I'll say to anyone, I don't know much about lore. The bits of lore I do know, I know. There is so much that I have absolutely no bloody idea on.
It's so huge.
And there's more lore in this game about a topic that you had 6 seconds of game time on than I can think of for a whole book series.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And like Gator did say, we got a whole channel going for it. I think it's one of like 3 channels that I don't actually have muted because it is really interesting. And I know that there are people in there that know so much that make me look like I don't even speak English in there. But I know they also won't judge you if you do have a question. So if there is someone out there listening to this show that does have a slight interest in one of the topics, ask. I know if it's one of the 4 things that I know about, I won't talk to you like you're an idiot. Des, Jesus Christ, he is willing to share every little bit of information.
He knows a lot.
And yeah, he knows so much. He's forgotten more about lore than everyone in this podcast has ever learned about anything ever. Laz, I haven't spoken to a massive amount about lore. It's mostly sarcastic comments. I'm not going to lie.
He's busy lawyering anyway.
But, yeah, he's busy getting Gage out of trouble.
Yeah.
And just to expand on Hades' point, like what I really enjoy about Destiny is you ask a question or you're presented with a question, and then that opens up 25 more questions, and someone out there will have the answer to that. And finding that answer is as much fun as playing the game for me. So that's why I like this franchise so much.
I will say this before we move on to our final topic. I've been watching Fallout. In fact, I just finished watching all 8 episodes. Pretty good show. Well casted, well directed, well written. Even Todd Howard was behind it. And I don't think Destiny's going to have any problem with character development or anything if Sony does decide to make a live action series or whatever they have planned in the future for a Destiny series of some sort, because my God, they have so much writing to work with here from all the lore entries and stuff. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you talking on this topic. Last and finally not least, we have Mr. Heyoka, and we'll do that right after this. Hey, Guardians, would you like to give back to our community? If you received any value from today's podcast episode and would like to give back, head over to our website, GuardianDowncast.com and select the Patreon button to see what extra perks and benefits you can get from the several tiers of membership available. If you would like to give a one-time donation, click on our PayPal button and follow the prompts. Our community runs on our membership, and we never accept outside sponsors or advertisers. We're Guardian Downcast. Your stories, your community, your destiny. And finally tonight, last and certainly not least, it's actually a topic that kind of ties everything we've been talking about tonight together. And it's a very interesting conversation. So, Mr. Heyoka, what do you got for us tonight?
Thanks, Gator. So I want to think together about the concept of the attention economy and its impact upon people, but maybe more specifically what this looks like and feels like within our Destiny community, if we can tie that in a bit. So a lot of this paraphrases a talk by a guy called Jamie Williams, as I feel he sets out really clearly, but also on the work of Tristan Harris. Both of them, interestingly, used to work in the behavior departments at Google. So the attention economy, it's not a new concept at all, but it's increasingly prevalent. It runs on an observation by a guy called Herbert Simons in the 70s that said that when information becomes abundant, that attention becomes a scarce resource. And the attention economy is the scientific approach to the competition for that attention, if that makes sense. So the goals we have for where we might put our own attention, such as spending more time with family, touching grass, being more productive, being more self-aware or mindful, they're not always in line with the goals of those technologies competing for our attention, which might focus upon maximizing the time we spend on an app or website or the number of clicks it can generate from us. And its intention is to hook and maintain our rather precious attention, which means it's not really on our side when considering our own goals. We can trust them to be guides on our sides, but they're not always that way. And this is all very well known by those who are competing for our attention. It was the CEO of Netflix who, when asked who his main competitors are, he said, well, apart from Instagram and YouTube, it's sleep, which says a hell of a lot, doesn't it? And in line with that, the knowledge that's been developed around through studying about our non-thinking, non-rational aspects of how we make decisions has also become much more well known. And together, a system has developed into a business model designed to dominate the attention economy on an industrial scale of persuasion. This is all hidden behind descriptors such as social media, but companies such as Meta, they don't sell social media, they sell our attention. And we've got ourselves in a situation where controlling the habits of billions of people worldwide is, down to a handful of people. So I first noticed, it sort of came to my attention back in 2009 when I got my first iPhone. It was a 3G one, Hades. That wasn't a 3G network data. It was called 3G. I noticed really quickly that I daydreamed much less. I read fewer books. I struggled to manage any feelings of boredom, and I had an increased level of general anxiety and a lack of focus. Ultimately, that's what led me into my doctoral research into the unconscious aspects of our relationships with smartphones. And anyone who has a smartphone, and let's face it, that's pretty much everybody, will be able to see how much they've become an extension of ourselves, like an other, which is with us through so many of our lived experiences. It's also a portal to our possessions. So much of our life is dematerialized now onto the phone. Our photo libraries, record collections, our sense of orientation, sat nav, how we get around, our TV. They have become, and this is by design, an object that we turn to for an increasing majority of our own emotional regulation as well. And that's all done under the illusion that we're doing something. I jokingly call it my phone admin when I sit down with a coffee and log onto Instagram or Discord. But even this has become more moment to moment during the day. And I will say particularly on Discord. So our smartphones and the the doors that the smartphone opens for us. They work on something called, something Mr. Monkey had raised a little while ago, a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, which is in effect a slot machine mentality, where we're encouraged to pick up our phone as much as possible in the hope that we get a little treat. Much like Skinner rats back in the first half of the 20th century. And in doing so, we are being conditioned to react to notifications, noises, vibrations, and alerts by picking up our phone and giving it our attention. So when we get a positive hit, it creates a dopamine feedback loop, which we hope for each time, but we're also left in a state of seeking this hit even when we don't get it, like a gambler. It's a gambling state of mind. What this does to us is generates a state called continuous partial attention, which describes being in a partial state of attention continuously. Mm. So being connected at all times under the illusion of multitasking, but in this state we're vulnerable to task-irrelevant thoughts and mind wandering. We're put into a bit of a trance state. Now, you might say, okay, so what? But there is a physical impact of this upon our brains. So our brains are still very much working along the lines of a primitive design. They've not evolved as quickly as technology. So our hard drive in our brain is not designed to hold the overwhelming amount of data and information that we're bombarded with every day. And interestingly, computer games consume more sort of bytes of data than all of the other media put together. So imagine if we're in a raid, let's say we're going down the abyss, down lamps, and we've got so many art. But the amount of information on the screen can be overwhelming. And we all know how quickly our brains can feel tired. So what's happening there is that we think we are multitasking when in fact we can't concentrate on more than two things at once at any time. And even that's really hard because our brains have evolved to only focus on the most important sense data. So we block out a lot of irrelevant information that we've deemed to be non-threatening or unimportant. The technology, particularly through our smartphones, are actively encouraging us to pay attention to everything. And our attention, it rapidly shifts between things under the illusion of multitasking. But what it does so quickly is it depletes oxygenated glucose in our brain, which is what our brain energy is. And that can leave us feeling tired and stressed. We don't know what's going on, but that's what it feels like. And we can overfeel this as an overwhelming demand on our brains, because it is, right? So this always-on experience, it motivates us to be connected online. We see this every day in our Discords, don't we, across all of the communities. And the social aspects of continuous partial attention can be seen through a drive for validation and recognition, or hits, whether that's someone replying to you in a channel, a thumbs up, or a heart. It can be quite demoralizing when you feel that this doesn't happen, even if it's not. And that can leave us feeling not worthy, or not worthy of that dopamine hit. This plays into another primitive anxiety called status anxiety, which concerns not only our sense of belonging in a social group, but more importantly, our fear of not belonging or not being accepted. You know where I'm leading with this. This can generate competition for the chat space, concerns about ranking, one's position in the community in comparison to others, and in our case, what kind of Destiny player we see ourselves as, and what we hope others see us as. So this all, of course, is an expression of a fear of missing out if we're not always on. It's a little more complex than just wanting the latest gun. It's actually what we call a dis-ease. It's a dis-ease that we're not good enough, we're missing out on something important, or be left behind if we don't engage at that sort of high engagement level within the game or within the community. And we're conditioned to react rather than think. And if we think about, certainly the smartphones, all of the deeper thinking has been offset to apps so that we can concentrate on getting those little dopamine hits. But it fosters an increased attachment and a separation anxiety with our phones in particular. But when we put all of that together, we can understand the reasons that some people find themselves burning out. Completely overwhelming, pulling away, taking breaks. We might jokingly say, let's go and touch grass, but actually it's really important that we realize that we are the product. We are being encouraged to keep the cycle going, keep engaging. Another day we could talk about how that meets our rather infantile narcissistic needs. And a lot of my doctoral research was about actually a mother-infant relationship between us and our smartphones, where actually the illusion might be that the phone is the infant, but actually it's us. And it can pull into existence a maternal experience at any moment. But the thing about that is that our phones in particular are designed not to be given up. And that might go some way to why we see people struggling to move into adulthood, staying in an adolescent state a lot more, feeling more entitled, feeling they've got more rights, feeling that their needs are more important, or that they actually are more interesting than they think they are. So, I mean, I've just chucked a load of ideas out there, but I was wondering how we might think about that in relation to community, Destiny. I'd love to hear anyone's thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a great topic, man. I'm actually reading up on this stuff right now, in fact, in relation to inflammation in the body. I'll share my final thoughts at the end. Who wants to speak up first?
I'm quite happy to speak on
Absolutely,
this.
Mr. Monkey. Dive right on.
So, I found that topic really, really interesting. As the most infantile narcissist I know, I thought I'd speak first. I've taken quite big steps recently to try and not curb, but work how I deal with technology. So I think Heyoka knows, but I think a few other people know in the community, I'm generally not contactable on Discord from about 7 o'clock in the evening till I wake up, which is about 2 o'clock most days.
Lord knows I've tried.
So you're particularly blocked. You're under the Luke Smith banhammer, unfortunately. But it all joking aside, I really try not to be on technology after about 7 o'clock at night, or on my phone after about 7 o'clock at night till the next morning, just because I want to be present with my family, with my wife. When we're watching TV, it grinds her gears. If she's watching TV and I'm busy messaging people on Discord or looking at something on my phone or doing something else. And similarly, if she's doing exactly the same thing, texting her friends or doing something else, it really, really bothers me. So I'm trying to be a lot more present, because ultimately, I mean, I'm kind of, well, not ashamed, but I've not really spoken about this out loud before, but sort of pre-pandemic, or during the pandemic, should I say, when we couldn't leave the house, I had a nearly 1,000-day unbroken streak of logging into Destiny.
Wow.
So if you look at my Destiny heat map, I think my longest unbroken logins was 993 days or something like that. And even now, I pretty much play every day without fail. I can't remember the last time I didn't play. Generally, I log in most days if we're not on holiday or I'm not actually physically in the house. I'll log on even if it's for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, whatever. But I'm really trying to make big steps to be less, what's the right phrase? Less dependent on my phone, and try and break that child-adult relationship that I have with my phone to think, well, actually, I don't need to have it near me. I'll quite happily leave it in a different room and leave it for hours in a different room. And although to begin with, it really triggers anxiety, because you think, oh, what happens if I'm missing someone's organising a raid that I could join? Yeah. But sooner or later you get over that. And I think I spoke about it when I spoke about Destiny 3 right at the top of the episode, unless Gator edits all my parts out, about FOMO, that I think it's within our gift to conquer that. And it's not an easy thing to conquer, in the same way that it's not easy to conquer separation anxiety away from your phone. It's not easy to conquer. And I know Heyoka's kids are, and Gator's kids are kind of, with mine, yours are a little bit older than mine, Heyoka. Gator's are a little bit older than yours. You see it with our children that they've grown up having everything on demand all the time. And that's not a bad thing. There's progression and there's benefits to everything. But sometimes it is learning that bit of separation from technology. And like you say, going out and touching grass every now and again.
Yep. That's a good point. Rolfie, what's your take?
Yeah, so this is something that resonates with me quite recently, if I'm honest. I almost want to say I'm a victim of looking at my phone too often, but as of the past couple of years, this is something that I've proactively tried to change. And there's a number of things that sort of sparked that decision, but I did find myself investing in things that I really didn't care about. And these may be social media topics. These may be things that, I don't know, on Instagram, and whether or not it affects how you look, how you feel. These are things that I was looking at, thinking, how can I associate myself to that? And then almost finding guilt out of it. So one of the best things I ever did was to not fully get rid, but I filter my social media now quite heavily, because there is a lot of content on there that I could try and associate myself with, but actually it has no resonation with what's going on in my life at the moment. I could find a route into why it would affect me, but realistically, it isn't affecting me at all. So I got rid of Facebook, I got rid of Instagram. I still have them as applications, but I turn off all notifications. I will only go on there if I need to find some source of information. And it became so easy just to have a look at a notification and go, oh, okay, yeah, cool. Well, this is beeped. Yeah, cool. Yeah, lovely. I'll check that. And I found that I was doing that far too often and caring about the things that don't affect me day to day. And things like having a family, that really spurred me on in thinking, why am I caring about this? Because I was caring because I'd seen a notification about it. And that sort of thing drove me to think, right, okay, I'm going to take a step back from this, because this is something I can get far too absorbed in very quickly. And I love my family to pieces, and that relationship has grown stronger ever since I can put my phone down now and not look at it, and I will leave it on mute. And things, just small steps like that, really help in developing the relationship with your real family and friends, not your virtual family and friends. And I love Discord to pieces, and obviously the developments that we've all made recently, and we've got a UK Discord. I love that. And I still treat that as much of a social media outlet as Facebook and Instagram. I will open up the app, but I won't allow notifications on the app for absolutely everything. I will have a look at it at certain times of the day when I've got the time to commit my time to it. But it would quite easily absorb my life if I were to leave live notifications on as part of the Discords that I've got 4 or 5 Discords here that we're all part of. So it could quite easily consume me. So I think it's really interesting in how much you can take away from taking a step back from social media outlets. And it gives you time to then sort of think about yourself and what your priorities are, and where you can best use your time away from relying on your phone to tell you that you need to do something. So that's my take on it. But
okay, Hades, muted.
Yeah, I think it being at like the younger end, I think I'm around a similar age to Gator's kids and a little bit some older than Doc and Miss Monkeys. It's a kind of even like even my work. I've got two apps for my job on my phone that admittedly they're completely muted and unless I actively look for them, I'm not finding anything but that's because it's work and don't care about that. I definitely am massively more tied to technology than most. Although saying that, looking at Rolfey's wrist, there is an Apple Watch on it, but I'm guilty as well. There's another one. I know every time my watch does go off, there's a little bit of me that instantly is going, oh, what's that? That might be important. It's never bloody important. I get like, apart from occasionally messages from family that could wait 20 minutes, it's never that important. But it's my watch goes off and I go, ooh,
big light. Something made a noise.
Why is it vibrating at me now? The battery's dying. There we go. I think that the world is forcing us to be more dependent on technology. I study it for a living, so I know that there is a lot that it does do that is brilliant. One that I mention to customers quite often, year and a bit back, I had a disagreement with the wind. My watch literally turned around and said, you fell on the floor. Oh, yeah. It is designed for old people falling down the stairs, but it has other uses. There is so much that it can do, but that's the little things that make us think, I need to get a smartwatch because I ride a motorbike. If I fall off, it sends my exact location and a message to my partner. Why am I still wearing it a year and a half after not having a motorbike? And why was I not just getting a tracker that would notice when I fell off? Because shiny. And shiny good.
Big light.
Big shiny thing, and it vibrates at me. And it makes me feel like an idiot because I can be James Bond and talk like this on the phone. I think as a people, we are trying to get too much into technology. I get notifications from Discords and I go, hey, someone might be talking to me. They're very rarely talking to me. I'm never bloody on Discord. But I'm always going to look. I'm always going to wonder. And that Doc's got science things that I think I got about 8 words out of that as to why. But that there is it. I know that I do sell into the exciting side of it, ignoring the not so great side of it. But I do have several customers wearing tinfoil hats that make me sound completely sane. So it's fine. But it is also making me a hell of a lot more connected. If it wasn't for all of this technology, us 6 wouldn't be sat here staring at a computer screen. But I live in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. I'd be sat in a ditch getting high. I feel like this is slightly healthier.
I agree.
A little bit healthier. And there's a lot of good to it. We can look at the good, we can look at the bad. We've got the very intelligent Doc here in the middle looking at both, going, Hades, you bloody idiot. What are you chatting? there's always going to be some genius making more money in 20 minutes than I make in a year that's going to find a way to capitalize on idiots like me. If I focus on that too much, it makes me wear that tinfoil hat, so I'm just going to completely ignore it and let Dark psychoanalyze me while I'm sending him flying 3,000 miles an hour off of the side of a mountain. It makes me feel a little bit more sane. Just a little bit. But if there's an idiot's version of all of that someone can find out and put it into like 12 words, then that would be cool. Because I'm so confused.
Phone's bad, Heyoka hates.
Well, it's such an interesting topic, and I'm a point in my life where I'm like, I love absorbing new stuff. I can't read for very long, but I read several pages a day trying to absorb stuff. And I'm actually reading a book on inflammation. Yeah, I know. Gator's getting old. No, I'm just like, I want to know more about inflammation and how I can maybe reduce it. And I was on a chapter just this morning talking about the parasympathetic and the sympathetic
nervous systems.
Yeah, our systems. Our parasympathetic being when we sleep and are digesting food and stuff, and what happens to our body when we're in a parasympathetic system versus a sympathetic system, which is the fight or flight response, right? It's where we're always alert, ready to pounce. Well, I think what a lot of us maybe were born into, some of us are accepting it later in life, is the screens. And I'm one to talk. I'm looking at 5 screens right now on 3 separate monitors. And the problem, I think, today, and the reason there's so much immune disorders, I think it relates to immune disorders. I think it relates to a lot of stress. I think it relates to a lot of anxiety that our younger folk deal with right now, is the fact that we're always on. We're always looking around. We're always looking for, Apple was a genius when they made the Apple Watch, because the lighting and flashing wasn't enough. They tap you on the they tap you on the wrist. Say, hey, buddy. Like someone is literally tapping you. I have literally, sorry, I'm not using literally too much. I've mistaken someone tapping me on the shoulder for my damn Apple Watch, trying to remind me of something coming up. And I think there's good parts to having tech and wearable tech and phones and stuff and screens and all that. I learned how to do audio and video editing. I find that a very nice thing to know. And I could only do that by looking at a software on a computer screen, and processing video and stuff and making YouTube videos and podcasts and all that stuff. But I think the problem was, today is, and I feel worse for our generation that was born into everything being on demand, is that they're always on. They're always on. And I think, my son, for instance, I'll give you an example. He has a really hard problem sleeping. He can only sleep for 4 or 5 hours a night at most. I don't have that problem, but he does, because he's on a computer. That's his job, he's an analyst. He analyzes things from his company and makes it work, where he puts programs together where he can funnel information and stuff for this real estate company. But what I think the moral of the story here, Mr. Heyoka, Dr. Heyoka, is it's all about balance. I'll tell you a little story, just a little story here. Go back to when I was in my mid-30s. I know. That seems like some of you guys aren't even there. I know. It's so sick. Sickening. I was in my mid-30s. I had young kids. I've been married for over 10 years. And I got addicted to video games. It started with Call of Duty. And then it got into Destiny. And I would find myself where I was in here more than I was out there. And I damn near lost my marriage because of it. It was a tough time. It was a tough time of life. And then I just snapped out of it. I said, my conscience just told me, Gator, what the hell are you doing, man? You got a beautiful wife. You got beautiful kids. You got a great life. Everything's going great for you right now. Why the hell are you addicted to this video game online? And once I snapped out of it, I realized that it's all about how you balance all of these things in your life, how you juggle them. And that includes sleep. And my system, Hades, you were talking about your system. I have no problem. I have two phones. I have two iPhones, business, personal. I have two iPhones, but you notice I have them face down on the desk here, and it does strobe light flash when it's a client calling me. That's why I was texting someone when you guys were talking earlier, because it was a client, a very big client of mine that was having problems with his palm trees. I had to answer it right away. But other than that, my phone will not, if it does flash, I look immediately. If it's a Twitter feed, back down. I don't even look at it. It's not important. And it comes to a point where I can leave all these phones in my office and go in there and eat breakfast and watch TV. And yes, I do miss an occasional text from my wife if she's out somewhere or at school, but I'm within hours, I'm back in here to look at it again. But I do not have that separation anxiety where I can't leave this. If I left this at home and went to work one day, it would suck. It would totally suck because I listen to podcasts through it. I do everything through this damn computer in my hand or my pocket, but I would still be able to run my life without that phone. And it's probably because I'm Gen X and that we started out with 2, 6, 9, and 35 on the television. And we had 4 channels to choose from. And if you wanted to listen to the radio, you would put that clock alarm on at night, going to bed, listening to the top 10 countdown before you went to bed. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And, that was how we dealt with entertainment back then and input and stuff. But today, now that we're surrounded by all of this tech, I've just learned that there's time to turn it on and there's time to turn it off. There'll be times when you guys will see me in Discord, but I'm not really there. I've got Discord on. I've got it up on a monitor here, but I'm in the other room and I don't bring my phone with me. So I will just come in and check in and see if anybody's, pinged me, if there's something somebody needs fixed or whatever. I'm Gen X. I'm not a boomer. Okay. I'm an older Gen X. Okay. Let's leave it at that. But I learned in my life that it was all about balance, and touching grass is very much a part of that. That's why I say it in the end of every podcast, Hades, because there's times when I'll go walk my dogs out in the morning and I will sit there on the deck and I will look up at the sky and I'll watch the trees, but with the breeze and everything blowing around. And I'm just taking it all in because so many of us get up, got a phone right in their face as soon as they wake up in the morning. I don't do that. I do not do technology in the morning. I'm sitting out with my dogs. I'm feeding my dogs. I come in here and check in on Discord. But then, Average, I'm going to kill you. But then, but I've just created a routine in my life where I am very much plugged into tech, but there's times when I know I need to plug off of tech. And the worst habit I have now that I'm trying to break is when I'm at dinner with my wife, phone goes down. And my daughter and my wife talk all the time on their phone. So I know it's tempting for her to pick up her phone, but that's the deal. When we sit down at the table, we put the phones down. She puts it in her purse. I put my phone in my lap or something where I can't see it. And we're enjoying dinner and being together, and being in that moment is something that a lot of us don't experience anymore. And I think there's good points and bad points about tech and the attention economy out there, and they're always fighting for it. I heard a joke today. It was on the Tonight Show in the US here. And it said, it's really crazy that the people who invented social media were geeky, non-sociable people that didn't want to talk to anybody, created this social media system where we all talk. And there's a reason why we didn't invent social media, because we were socializing. So I think it goes back to social media and everything we plug into these days. and is just competing for that attention and those clicks. And I mean, I'm in the business too. I put out videos. I want people to click on the title. I try to put a title in there that it makes people curious and click on it. So I'm part of the system too, but personally, as part of my life, I make sure that there's time for tech and there's time to turn it off, and they're not going to win with my attention is given at certain times of the day to my family and my wife. And it's hard to do because there's a lot competing for your time out there and for your eyeballs. But, I think that's a challenge that a lot of our youth now deal with, is the fact that they're always in that sympathetic mode where it's fight or flight. And that's the reason why people are so lethargic. They're so tired. They're so stressed out, and they're so, they have such anxiety all the time. I think it's because of screens and all the input. Without even knowing it, our body is on high alert all the time. And just knowing to shut all that down and take a nap in the afternoon. You ought to try it. It's really nice. Taking a nap, just like an 18-minute nap, power nap, it does wonders for your brain. It really does. So that's where I stand on it all, Dr. Heyoka. So,
well, I think it's amazing to hear, is you thinking about vagal tone and sympathetic nervous systems and acknowledging a hyper-stressed existence. And then you've got Mr. Monkey, learning about sleep hygiene and trying to put things into place in a different way. So it's really great to hear how it's coming into people's awareness in a much more, in a way that you're wanting to do something about it, take back some control.
Yeah.
In comparison to Hades, who's saying, this is life, this is it, this is everything. So thank you.
It is so important for people just to have 5 minutes of just purely quiet, nothing going on around you outside time. It's really, really therapeutic.
Yeah. It's interesting that everybody wants us to do mindfulness, and yet before all of this tech, we were the absolute gurus, weren't we, of mindfulness?
We're all plugged in. Hades.
I think I can get an app for that one, Doc.
I've got to.
I've got a mindfulness app. I haven't opened it up. I haven't opened it up yet. I haven't even gotten past the title screen on that one.
You got to log into that and agree to notifications or something. But I think it is, I can't remember where I saw it, but ages ago I saw somewhere that it's the more connected we all are, the more connected we have to be. I'm fully aware that for someone my age, I don't bloody use any of this stuff. Compared to loads of people I know, I've had this phone for 8 months. I can't tell you what my ringtone notification is. Can't tell you what any of the sounds sound like, because for the last 4 phones I've had been on silent.
My phone's on too.
I don't bloody want any of that. It is you said as well, Gator, about you put your phone face down.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, mine's been face up this whole time because it always is. But my parents have always, I've been dragged up sideways with no phones at the table. To the point, I live on my own. When I'm eating dinner, my phone it's not face down on the table. It's somewhere I can't see it.
Right.
Somewhere I can't feel it. Somewhere that if I wanted to look at it, I'd have to actively move. Because I've always been brought up with that it is not, you eat dinner, that is a completely separate time.
Yep. You're
away from the universe for that 20 minutes.
How many people sit down for dinner at night with their family now?
It's strapped to my wrist still.
Yeah.
I can ignore it when I'm eating. I've also got, as of 48 minutes ago at midnight, my phone's in Do Not Disturb. Unless you call me 3 times, it's not going to acknowledge that. My watch won't either.
Mm-hmm.
It is bugger off universe time.
Yep. It's very important.
Because while I live with tech and it's my job and all of that, I know there's a limit. I'm not as bad as a lot of people I know who I imagine I can think of two of my managers now that if I were to message on the company app thing would probably reply to me within 20 minutes because they have to be available 24/7, even when they should be asleep. It's getting too much. Probably professionally speaking, someone would say got too much years ago.
I don't know who he's pointing to. You're pointing to the margin for me.
You're pointing to the wall.
He wrote a dissertation on it.
Something went back to front then.
Right. There you go.
Somewhere. Wherever he is to everyone else. I've also got, if you look at my screen here, there's like 15 screens behind me apparently.
Oh,
I'm not that good.
Oh, crap.
But there is a lot more for someone my age. I'm not internet connected. I'm not available on anything other than Discord and if you text me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My Facebook is used for 40 minutes of doom scrolling when I wake up. I don't get notifications from any of it. It is just complete gibberish. And hey, look at these 3,000 pictures of cats. I'm proper boring. I've been told several times I'm really boring to try and stalk. My Instagram has 4 pictures. And 4 of them are cars that I've had at least 3 years ago. I'm really boring. I'm an old person at heart. It's all right. It's why I'm here with you lot.
We accept you.
Right in.
My heart's 55 years old, like Gator.
Oh my God. Well, hey, that was a good topic. Thank you, Dr. Heyoka. Appreciate that. Great topics, everybody, tonight. One more thing we got to take care of, and we'll do it right after this.
Hey, it's Brittany, your favorite mod, and you're listening to Guardian Downcast.
All right, just a little housekeeping before we go today. Thank you, everyone who's participated in the roundtable tonight. I want to remind everyone of our question of the month for April. The question was suggested by our patron, actually, Seth Daddy Fresh. And the question is, what is a Destiny-related conspiracy theory that you believe is 100% true, and explain why you think so? We'll have 2 drawings. In the first episode of May, all entries will have a chance to win a $50 Amazon gift card, but our voicemail answers will get a chance into a second drawing for some podcast merch. There'll be a channel in our Discord labeled Question of the Month that you can put those text answers, or you can visit guardiandowncast.com and click Leave a Voicemail to enter that second drawing with a voicemail answer. I want to give a shout out to our patrons. We have a brand new patron tonight, guys. A new Gatorade patron, and that would be Zombie Pops. Thank you, sir, for giving back to our community. Shout out to our Dungeon Champion patrons. That would be Deadpool1 Merc, Wicked Trinity, Smiter, and Technical. Shout out to our Day 1 Raid Boss patrons. That would be Frostbite and Jealous. Our Raid Boss patrons, Amazing Taco King, Nico, a.k.a. Jersey, Tilted Tim. There you go, Laz. You can now bill him. And Mr. Sith Daddy Fresh. My goal this year was to produce more content for our Patreon and YouTube community that are members. So this year I'm adding a lot of bonus audio, a lot of bonus video content, like today's video form of the podcast is going to be available to our patrons and our YouTube members. I just released last week, actually, an extra show questionnaire my son Cam the Jellyman asked me when he was on our show a few weeks ago. Got a little personal. Also coming soon will be some behind the scenes extras and even conversations that never made it to our normal podcast. So if you want to take a look at some of that content, as well as some other cool benefits like special badges and roles in our Discord, question of the show priority, song picks for our playlist, an annual speedrun attempt, or even some free merch, check it out. And you can even join for free if you want to take a peek and look for yourself. What's great is all these funds go right back into our community. So visit patreon.com/support Guardian Downcast, or just visit our website, guardiandowncast.com. Hit that Patreon button. It's that simple. All the links will also be down in the show notes below. That's a wrap. I'd like to thank Hades, Rolfey, Average Destiny 2 player, Mr. Monkey, and Heyoka for bringing some great topics of discussion today. All their contact information will be in the show notes down below if you'd like to follow these fine folks. Thank you, gentlemen. Remember, if you'd like to know more about the show, how to join our Discord community, find out our past episodes, or even where you can get back to the show, or have any comments or questions, guardiandowncast.com. It's all right there. I'm Todd the Gator. That's 2Ds, G-A-T-R. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, X, or even see me in game the very same way. I have another podcast, the Destiny Help Desk, where I dig deep into a singular topic of Destiny 2 that kind of has a teaching mindset and can help all Guardians in the game. And I usually invite some friends to help me out and talk about it as well. Remember, we're Guardian Downcast, your stories, your community, your destiny. And remember to be good to your fellow Guardians in the Destinyverse.
Guardians are measured by their ability to come back from defeat. So stand. Fight!
Thank you all so much for listening. And later, Guardian.
That's Toddle.
Adios.
See you later.
I just said thanks for having me.
Bye.
That was fun. That was fun. What were the other things on your list? Just shotgun them out. Let me hear what they were.
So, obviously, Hades mentioned about pikes, about vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's now them in the Cosmodrome, which is great, but it doesn't actually tell you how to get off your pike.
Nope.
It tells you how to get on it, but it doesn't tell you how to get off of it.
I was strafing side to side when I first tried using that thing. It just kept going side to side. I'm like, how do I get off this thing? It just kept jerking back and forth. Yeah.
It doesn't tell you it's got a boost to make it. It doesn't tell you it's got a boost to make it go quicker. There's players who actually mentioned in the videos that it took them half an hour to an hour to work out how to get off the pike.
Right.
You know, sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say they did. I wanted to mention also that text chat is also open now by default. So you can call people scrubs. When you're a new player, you can actually, if you're an established player and they're jumping into a onslaught game with you, you can tell them to eat shit and get better and get good, like Mr. Monkey said. So that's another thing.
I'm sorry about those comments, Gator.
That's all right.
I'd hoped you'd not seen those.
No, I know. How was your PvP-ness? I can't believe you made me say that.